Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Gregory Hoblit's Primal Fear in 1996. So, here we are with a review of this film. Now, it's a film that I've been wanting to see for quite a few years now, and of course the big reason why I watched it sooner is because Richard Gere actually, after rewatching Days of Heaven, having seen that film 3 times now, it's in my top 20 of all time, and I love that film so much. I love Richard Gere from that film so much that I just thought I really want to see this quite soon actually. And of course Edward Norton is in the film as Aaron, and basically as well Laura Linney, so it's got a great cast, Richard Gere basically plays the defence attorney Martin, and it's very very clear early on that he really likes the spotlight, and he likes the attention and stuff. But he is a character, who is very, very complex. He's not just this, unlikable character who's, full of himself kind of thing. And basically, Edward Norton is very, very early on in the film accused of, murdering this guy, and basically, Richard Gere plays, his defence. Now, this film is not that acclaimed. It's very, it's got a 7.7 IMDb, which is very, very high. But critically, it's not that successful. Roger Ebert would be one of the only ones, who really gave it a high score, 3.5 out of 4. And yes, I didn't expect to be blown away by this film. It's another kind of courtroom drama, you could say, although more a thriller than say, The Rainmaker, which I reviewed a few weeks ago. I just think it is more a thriller, and very, very dark at times. You do see some graphic images, and it's very, very, very much, more of a drama, and a thriller psychologically. And Frances McDormand is in the film as well, who basically plays, the character of Stampler's, Aaron Stampler's. She plays a psychiatrist, and basically helps with the case. Now, this film, I watched it yesterday, and this will be uploaded on Friday, so technically Wednesday I watched it, and basically I didn't expect much, and wow, this film blew me away. Absolutely stunning, really from start to finish. This film, it's just amazing. I think it's one of the most underrated films that I've seen in a long time. Richard Gere is amazing in this film. I think he's wonderful as Martin. And Edward Norton, I believe this is his first kind of feature film role, and he is amazing in this film. Felt many, many different things, for his character, and as well, Frances McDormand is great in the film. Laura Linney, very, very good as well, but really, Richard Gere, Edward Norton, they're the stars of this film. Stars of the show, and they're just both so amazing, and. Richard Gere is kind of this, of course, the protagonist, and he's basically, this kind of guy who's got loads of confidence and everything. And it's a very, very different role, to say Days of Heaven, of course. Most films are different to that, you could say, in a good way, of course. There's not a lot of dialogue that he gives them that, so. And I've not actually seen too many Richard Gere films, but this one is a very, very different role. Very, very... character kind of full of confidence, and very, very much given most of the dialogue of the film, and he's basically tasked, with kind of defending this guy, but also getting to the bottom of this actual crime, and this murder that happens very early on in the film. You see the murder, of course. You don't see who done it, of course. It's kind of a who done it because there's other people involved, and basically, you've got this innocent character, 19-year-old, who is accused of this murder, and basically. Because he was there technically at the scene of the crime. He's been chased and then he's caught, and he stands trial. And it's a very, very touching film in the way it explores this character. Of course, you very early on he's got a past, and possible abuse in there, and eventually. Kind of spoilers, but not really. You see this tape, and he's involved, and basically forced by this the guy that's murdered to do certain acts. Now you kind of you don't see it really, but you do see some, And yes, it's basically there's the motive, possible motive, and but because you don't actually see what happens in the murder. There's many other different people involved. It's kind of a whodunit. It's a thriller, but of course you've got this innocent character of Edward Norton, very very young, and very very character who's very complex, and basically you've got Richard Gere defending him and trying to figure out this character and kind of as well what happened really at the scene of the crime. Now he kind of goes on different leads as throughout the film. And basically, yeah, a lot of scenes are in the courtroom, but a lot of them are not. And there's scenes where Francis McDormand, is kind of basically analysing Edward Norton's character, and Aaron, and things are uncovered, and I won't get into them, about his personality and stuff, and basically, yeah, the film unfolds from there, and it's basically it's a 2-hour film. It's very very short, and just over that, and yeah, a film that I absolutely loved. Definitely is going to go onto my favourite films list. 500, and I really loved everything about the film. I think the script was wonderful. Photography. Michael Chapman would work on the cinematography here, and it's just great. I think it's there's times where actually it doesn't quite always elevate to a level through the visuals, the direction and everything. But overall, it's quite wonderful visuals. But that actually does, I would say, knock off, not knock off, but hinder, film from getting full marks from me. Actually, it's just what I would think. The only thing I really, I thought at the end, is there any flaws? And not really with this film, because really it works on every level. It's a legal film that kind of deals with the humanity, which is absolutely great. It's the characters that drive the film, but you also want to know more about what happened at the murder. So it's a thriller, it's a human drama, and it of course highlights issues within the legal system. So there was no really flaws. All the characters and the performances, the music by score by James Newton Howard, who's one of the best composers for me of all time. Was great. So all I thought really was through the the visual storytelling. The fact that at times the cinematography and everything just didn't quite elevate, and as well as it actually could have done. It could have been a full mark film, but it just at times being a bit more sophisticated, and kind of allowed the film to be elevated through that. So that's the only thing. But overall, the cinematography was very very good. At times great. Just wasn't always masterful, and wasn't mind blowing in terms of that. But really, this film, Richard Gere gives a wonderful performance. Character I very much cared for, and Martin, and but also one, that has got his flaws in himself, and just one that's always compelling. And I don't quite get how people call Richard Gere a bad actor. For me, he's he's a great actor. And Days of Heaven is one of the best performances of all time. In this film, he is great. He is just full of energy, and commands the presence, screen presence. The side characters that kind of on his side, help him out, are great. Very very kind of camaraderie and warm stuff that happens there. Really loved all the characters and the kind of grouping. And of course, you've got the drama with Laura Linney, who plays basically his ex. She's also a lawyer, and she's on the opposite side of the case, and that's really interesting because it explores times of their kind of past, and their kind of the friction, but it also comes into play in the actual case and in the courtroom. So that's great as well. That at least even she is given kind of exposition and a role that is actually meaningful as well. Edward Norton really it just gives an absolutely stunning performance. Just so much emotion in there, and overall just a stunning performance. For the entire film. And this film is kind of really this is a character study. A dual character study. You could say these two guys, and just you could say kind of opposite ends of the law, kind of thing, and kind of both bring out different things in each other, and it's a chamber box kind of thriller at times, and very very intense, but very, very human, you know, and I just think, you know, the way that they kind of, you know, explore the characters in this film, as well, the way that it is, you know, also kind of a courtroom film that is just so entertaining, and so well constructed. You know, this film really does. It just moves so well, you know, as well. The you know, the editing in this film is really stunning. Has a wonderful flow to the film. You know, some of the early scenes as well. You've got the chase scenes, which are really, really great, and just you know, it's one of them films that just from start to finish mostly is just quite mind blowing. You know, thoroughly engaging, and you know, I just loved the characters in this film. You know, and the actual the way that it kind of explores the humanity behind this killing, and kind of what happened. You know, it's very much, you know, not all is revealed. You know, really till the end, and what an ending that is! Wow, the ending to this film is one of the best you know, endings I've seen in a while, actually, and just the way it comes together, and you know the way that yeah, what it says there, you know, the kind of themes that all are explored wonderfully in the film. The only thing, obviously, that stops me from giving it 100% is the at times some of the cinematography. You know, just doesn't quite. I wouldn't say it's flat, but it's just not wow. You know, all the time, and it doesn't allow. You know, it could have elevated the film more, and you know, just maybe one or two other scenes just not you know quite as compelling as the rest of the film. But really, this film is stunning. I would actually call it a masterpiece. You know, and for that, I'd say a 99%. Of course, this does not. You know, I call this a 99, a flawed masterpiece, or a masterpiece that doesn't quite, you know, quite deserve full marks. You know, a one that has some things that just don't quite elevate to the level that you know a full mark film should. You know, but it was close. It's just really some of the actual visuals of the film, you know, that hold it back a bit from going that extra mile. You know, and it's not. If it was 100, it wouldn't be you know my plus tiers or anything. But I love this film. It's going on my favourite films list, 500, and you know, it just I would highly recommend this film. You know, it's a film that is seen quite a lot. You know, it's being seen by quite a few people, but still, I think it's kind of underviewed a bit. You know, and underappreciated. I really think this is underrated. This film. It's just I don't see why it's you know not as critically acclaimed. It's a masterfully, for the most part, constructed thriller, human drama, and courtroom film as well. And you know, it just the way that this thriller explores the humanity and the characters is what you know really is just great. I love films like this. You know, thriller has to you know have good characters. This one has great characters, masterful characters, and Richard Gere just as the warm kind of you know likable protagonist. You know, full of energy, and you know as Martin. And I just love Richard Gere. You know, he's just great. You know, and I really want to see even more films, you know, from him. Actually, one of the films I'll be watching at some point soon is American Gigolo, and I've never seen that, but I cannot wait. And you know, in this film, he is amazing, and you know, no one's as good as Days of Heaven, but I'll never see a film that's better than that from Richard Gere or performance. I know that, but Edward Norton as well is masterful. Really, you know, his debut role, and Laura Linney is great in the film as well. I love the kind of relationship they have. You know, very complex, and as well all the other side characters in the film. McDormand really brings a lot to the film. She, you know, full of humanity. That you know that character, and you know just the scenes where she kind of you know as a psychiatrist, she kind of bringing out different things. You know, in Edward Norton's character. It's just thoroughly compelling, thoroughly absorbing, and it's just great. You know, I think James Newton Howard's score as well is wonderful. You know, and the use of classical music as well is great. So yes, I'd highly recommend this film. Gregory Hoblit done an amazing job. You know, directing this film, and you know, just a couple of things really in the visuals that don't quite, you know, they're not flaws. You know, and they are really good. At times great, but not quite the level that a 10 out of 10 film should get from me. And that's all we say. You know, this film, highly recommend it, and thanks for watching my review.